Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss productivity tactics that work for neurodivergent individuals.
Every episode, we interview guests with lived experience of neurodiversity who also have a solid productivity and habit game, and pass the learnings on to you, our wise and benevolent audience.
We're your hosts, Jeremy and Joey.
I'm Joey, and I coach creatives to get moving on their most ambitious projects through the power of solid habits and strong focus. I'm also a perpetual student of psychology and perpetually on a quest to a one-armed chin-up.
And I'm Jeremy, a neurospicy software developer turned startup founder, building the Focus Bear app to help people with ADHD and autism thrive at work. My cool party trick is leaving parties early so I can get to sleep in time for my 2-hour-long morning routine. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by Focus Bear, a focus enhancement app for ADHDers. That's adults with both combined autism and ADHD. I'm Jeremy, I'm an ADHDer myself. I'm the founder of Focus Bear and also one of the hosts of this podcast. I built Focus Bear for myself originally because I was constantly getting distracted by my phone and my laptop. I wanted a way to tame my ADHD monkey mind so I'd stop going down rabbit holes and actually get work done, but also get off my computer and my phone in the evening so I'd be able to sleep properly. It's working perfectly for me and it's helping a lot of ADHDs as well. I'd love for you to try it. It's available for Mac, Windows, iOS and Android, and it leverages most of the productivity strategies we talk about on the podcast. You can jump onto focusbear.io or just Google Focus Bear and try it out. Let me know what you think. Welcome to episode number 73 of the Focus and Chill podcast. We're joined today by Andrew Arboe. Andrew is a self-advocate with a professional work background consisting of public school, private school, nonprofits, and online programs. Andrew is also a public speaker known for talking throughout New England about autism and his personal experiences. Thanks for joining me today, Andrew.
Yep, thank you for having me here. And I should probably clarify New England being in the United States, like the East Coast states, Connecticut, Mass, Vermont, New Hampshire, like all of those. Be mindful that this is a kind of like an Australian podcast. So I don't want to confuse people like, where's this? Now I'm New England.
Yeah, thanks for providing that geographical clarity. I sometimes have been confused by that. So keen to get started by hearing about your journey with getting diagnosed with autism. When were you first diagnosed?
I was diagnosed 5, 6. It's kind of like a semi-weight ones. Most of that research and through research I know can probably change a lot over time. Like there's been growing research always. Like it's constant. Like stuff that could be right now could go opposite one, either that or challenge. So it's generally preferred probably a lot younger, but I'm born in 1993 and I'm actually 31. It doesn't look like that. A lot of my students at my school job at first didn't believe me at first. And I still get some occasional remarks, including a few real life neighbors that first didn't really believe me. Like their kids were like, no way. So I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, where in the United States perspective, like autism was starting to have a lot more going on. Like this is where you started to have more self-advocates like Temple Grandin and a few others starting to show up and do presentations. They're starting to move away, like autism stereotypes and researchers started to move to like new directions, moving away from stuff like Raymond, for example. Sorry if that makes people cringe, but part of the history wasn't my idea to make the movie, but if you know what I mean. So it wasn't until 5 and 6, and I was a type where I didn't think about it. I was in my own thing, like pretty passive and personal goals and all that. I just wanted to play video games. I grew up in the Pokemon craze. The cards, free movies in theater before they went straight to DVD, all the games, having like a Nintendo 64, and having the games that Europe and all the other countries should have got, but they never did. I was more into that admittedly, so I didn't really pay attention. But I think for realizing that I would feel different, I guess upper elementary, middle school felt kind of different. But it's kind of looking back, I've been thinking more about this with some of my projects that I've been investing to. I'm sure that'll be a question later on of what I'm doing nowadays. It's like I was starting to build my awareness of like the world around me, if that makes sense. And you could let me know if I'm starting to get more like figurative or I'm starting to be more abstract when intended. Just keep in mind the audience here. Like it took me a while to build my awareness of like I should this milestone, like, hey, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way, for example? Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it was similar for me with that phase of school that I think the social dynamics changed at that point. Was that potentially what was going on for you? I found that before that, a lot of the interaction was just playing games with each other. And then from upper elementary school or early high school for us, it seemed to be more about talking to each other and complex social dynamics that I didn't really understand. Was that the sort of thing that happened for you?
I don't know if there's any terms different since for special education, since I imagine it's very possibly very different from United States to Australia. Like in middle school, high school, there was like its own department where not like segregated crashes, it's kind of its own space.
Hmm.
And I've actually worked at a private school over here in the States as a teacher assistant. Technically more private, so not really in the public, but it still gives me perspective and understanding of how many people have a lot of different backgrounds and like environments can do them a lot of world of good. Either if it's a small environment or like a one-to-one, like I've done some one-to-ones where, again, let me know if I fall in too much terms. It just means a staff working with a student on a one-to-one basis, providing like the just kind of like a dreamy, a cricket one. I'm trying not to make it really childish, but it's like the best way to describe it because, it's like Pinocchio is kind of conscious kind of that providing helping out in a social space while helping them with academics. I probably went all over the place, but hopefully I answered the question.
Yeah, no, you did. And in terms of what it was like for you personally, what challenges did you face as you were growing up?
I just kind of mentioned like the understanding of, I guess, emotions and the kind of, I don't want to say I'm very careful. And then for anything I will say here before I forget, this is my very own experience and it doesn't speak for everyone. Since you mentioned it yourself, you didn't really say much, but that sort of figured going by your wording. So I don't want to speak for everyone because sometimes people fall in that trap and even self-advocates themselves fall into that. And I've always liked to move away from that as much as possible since, it's incredibly complex. But the challenge is processing kind of emotions, what I'm feeling. It took me a while until much recently working in the school I meant, the school environment, that I do a lot better in like a calm environment. Like I
Mm,
get all fun, like the vibes of other around me. And then I do my part of adding to that the atmosphere of the space. I probably sound more of a teacher through I'm technically assistant. But it's like if environment is really good, I feel like positive, even without any coffee. Food coffee does help me out. Black
mm,
coffee and like the Dunkin' and Starbucks around here. If its environment's kind of too chaotic or maybe too much raising like voices, or sometimes some people may have difficulties in the day, like it takes me off a bit. Like I don't want to say on edge, but okay, that just happened.
yeah.
Yeah, or so kind of just awareness and finding out kind of my place in the world because I was pretty passive for the most part. Didn't really knew what I mainly wanted to do until afterwards. After aging out of school, I don't know what they call it over in Australia. They call it transition to adulthood over here in the States. Might be a
Mhm.
little different.
Okay. So you got to the end of school, and then how did you decide what to do after that?
Just took a bit of time, and some of the video games I play, I like really Japanese role-playing games. One of my favorite series, and I actually typed this up on a LinkedIn article, is I
Mhm.
love the Nier series, like Nier Replicant, Nier Automata. It's my favorite video game series. It is very weird and it breaks the rules of gaming. It does a lot of different gameplay choices and different storylines. Not only is it comfortable, but it provides me that resilience is really one of the best things for me. Like resilience is key. And not to mention JRPGs are known for resilience, people fighting and being proactive to save the world. If there's a god final boss or not, it depends on the game because it's just part of JRPGs. And then just realizing I want to do much in human services because I was like, if I can improve outcomes, it doesn't really have to be this way. Which is where I got from the video games. Like it has all the storylines, and it just makes such a strong impression. And very similar to movies where you have that one media that's like feel inspired and all that. Does this have to be this way? So I went to do my own thing, human services sphere. I had no idea how that looked like. I don't know if this is a stereotype over in Australia as it is in the States. It's like autistic people, hopefully identity first, Vanquish is fine here. I'm very lax in Vanquish, but I also know everyone can be very police with English, so you can let me know. Hopefully, English first is okay in this
Yeah,
context
yeah,
and
absolutely.
podcast. Okay,
I'm not precious with
okay,
like,
but it's like a lot of people like being in eye tech, like a lot of the programs and a lot of the autism at work programs are more IT-ish. I don't want to stereotype that as well.
yeah.
But I looked at that and never was a good fit with me. And there was never like a autism at work program, a charity or like a human services type place. I was like, are there even autistic people in human services or what I want to do? So you could say like a challenge or just something that I just had to just go and just have to just do it regardless of a program or not. And then
Mm.
realizing that there were people there and realize stereotype is pretty nonsensical.
Yeah, and would you say that's one of your strengths, that actually the human services type of work really works well with your brain?
I think in a way, kind of, yes, it gives you all perspectives. And I've been recently been researching this because have you ever heard of the works of Stuart Brown? He does the Institute of Play.
Oh,
It's
okay.
kind of like how play being like they call it like a biological need and how like even adults benefit from play.
Mm.
And if you look on my website, I'll go over all the details at the end of the podcast of where you can find me.
Mm.
Like I greatly enjoy, I think, a explorer personality.
Oh.
They called it like the play personalities there. I always like to try new things, like different coffee shops, going to New Jersey or Massachusetts, go to this one place at some weird corner of the world if I'm able to buy a car and just go there.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing with video games. Like I played all the classic games, all the Nintendo games, the Final Fantasies.
Mhm.
And then I got introduced to really niche stuff at the time. And I probably follow a lot of game series that most people have maybe people have an idea, but mostly probably not. Like I played stuff like Xenoblade Chronicles on Nintendo One since Wii to Switch, Shin Megami Tensei, or the Persona series. Like niche games, I was like, no, I like to play more of these games. I'm looking outside of the bestseller games there. No offense to those. I'm sure those games still get an audience and all that. I like to play a lot of great stuff. I mean, I played near and I really traveled to LA just to attend a concert.
It's
So
really
it's kind of
fun.
like streams and it just provides me perspective because I got a lot of different perspectives and I should probably go over my employment background. I have worked in a public school as a job coach. I've done some work in some nonprofits. Like I really keep it to like the autism level. Let me know if I'm going way too fast. I kind of see the notes typing. So
Yeah.
please, if you want me to slow down, I can do that.
No, no.
And I have
Go.
no full cup of coffee, I can tell you that much. And I've worked in a private school. I also do some side work, consultations. I'm also part of, they call it Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And you don't have to type the specific organization names. I leave it up to you. But it's like I worked consultation work and I also have my own website, like a freelance one. It's not really business. It's freelance work and I do a lot of public speaking based off years of me just kind of getting in tune with what I want to do. And I just love talking about my autism experiences.
Hmm.
Just realizing that these experiences I have not only do have a point, but they can help me out professionally. I've been
Hmm.
to a lot of different places on there. And if you go on my website, I have a few testimonies, organizations I presented for, because I've been in several states. I've been in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, upstate New York City. I would keep virtual because travel is rough in New York City. New
Hmm.
Jersey. I'm hoping in the future I could do Pennsylvania, but we'll see over time. And I'm doing something in Florida next year.
Nice.
So I just really like doing projects, and you should see me on do topics for public speaking. Like I would just get a notebook and I just think of something. Like all my topics are based on my what I personally experience. If it's not, then I just don't do it. That's just my personal rule, and it fits to like there's no reason for me to lie at all for stuff. You won't see me doing a topic on behaviorism, for example. I
Hmm.
never had that growing up, so there's no reason for me to talk about it. And I'd be lying if I did. So yeah, just keep it really just honest as much as possible.
Hmm. Yeah.
Tap into all the things that I do best. So yeah, I probably
Hmm.
went quite a bit over. We probably went, I think it was the stream, so I kind of went to that. I probably went all over those. So you could make the questions based on whatever I just said. I know I just rambled for a bit.
No, no, that was the next question in terms of asking about your work. So can you explain a bit more about when you're in the schools? You said it's helping with work programs, is it? Can you explain a bit
Oh
more
yeah,
about?
yeah. It's a special education. I
Yeah.
do a lot more. I kind of just do more one-to-one work,
Mhm. Okay.
one-to-one work, and then more one-to-one with specific students, like going personalities, knowing how they function. And you could
Mm.
learn a lot of different life lessons. And I won't mention any names for obvious reasons, just because I've always believed in continuity and I always try to have like a good professional background.
Mm.
So like you go for a lot of one-to-ones. I've been working with several that are very hyperactive is the best way to describe it.
Okay.
I won't say the diagnosis obvious reasons, but I worked with ones that sometimes to go on the highway, like their minds were doing go on the highway for 200% of the time. And it's like work with them and I'm like, whoa, 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 okay. This is like work with them to solve it as much as you can. I have staff that can help out because there could be good days, there could be on off days, could be some bad days in the mix. It
Mm.
just comes in the teaching, and I'm very grateful to work in a really supportive private school.
Mm.
But you could learn a lot of things that you learn how they function and how, again, the different environments, like you have the public school, the private, and possibly other placements. I think it's probably very different in Australia. You kind of get really a sense of how they can function really well here. Just changes your perspective. I think it might have been some time where I think in the public school should do all the work but being in different settings, it's very interesting. I don't want to suggest like one thing is a solution for everything. It's kind of like just being open to multiple solutions. Because it turns out this one student I had really loved cooking and like really going with said student to the grocery store, practicing that, kind of
Mm.
typing up a recipe and having it be done this exact way. Like there has to be on this precise document. And then I was more for tech support of just, okay, how do you like organize this format? The student was very particular. Oh gosh, so particular. But seeing them cooking, and I helped out in some of the cooking, just most of it was good, and then some hilarious parts came in.
Yeah.
Some of the terminologies there, cooking can be so-so for me, not all the time. But
Mm.
just seeing that was just rewarding on its own, and it's got me thinking on transition adulthood because I'm sure you aware is that not everyone may go to work at all. Not everyone. It's kind of like how not everyone will be driving. Maybe not everyone will go on the public transportation. And then
Mhm.
still figuring out what you could use for the future since I was a student that graduated. And I was like, if they spent the rest of their lives just cooking, doing these recipes every week, that kind of goes in that meaningful life aspect. It's like you kind of see what I mean? It really changes your perspective in special education and kind of how you work with people. Like I worked with, and I forgot the age groups I mentioned, teenagers to young adults before they age out of school.
Mm.
For context, before I forget and keep going.
Yeah, that seems really important to let go of some of the expectations that the neurotypical
Oh,
world
and
might
I
have.
want to, yeah, but I want to say that because I've been saw this post about going after all expectations, and I don't want to be trying to word this very carefully because sometimes I see people that's not teach them all the social skills. Maybe not like that. That's kind of like not letting all those expectations go. And at the same time, you do need social skills to adapt to the world. Because
Mm.
there's some stuff that people do need help with. Of not saying this particular phase at a public place because that could make some people worried or not having like a loud volume. This kind of reminders there because those are legit things that could kind of, I don't want to say not like get people away from you, but it's like something that if they didn't know about the autism aspect of it, they would be all judgmental. And I guess that's the best way to describe it. Me trying to be language neutral as possible.
Mm.
Because I do provide that as much as I can. A lot of reminders, but I do my part because it also affects me too. It's very important to cover that. Hopefully that made sense, maybe. But social skills are universal. Autistic world, neurotypical world, or just general human world in general there. And hopefully that doesn't get you or us in trouble.
Mm.
I've been thinking about this for several years with all the autism politics, so
Yeah.
and again, and then but yeah, but basically I greatly enjoy perspectives and like seeing those experiences and it help nuances my work.
Mm.
So yeah. And it
Yeah.
helps my public speaking as well. Just to go about topics and again, I don't want to be the spokesperson for everything. It'd be nice to have the speaking engagement and all, but it's like being one voice out there and all that. So yeah. I
Yeah.
have sorry interrupted to go on. Sorry about that.
No, all good. I was gonna ask about when you're not working? You talked about playing some really interesting games and exploring different cities. Are there any other things that you like to do when you're not working?
I'm pretty much on coffee shops and if I'm exploring because I have a lot of past in autism and driving to accuracy. Like I've ran a few programs in the past, and now I'm settling to just general autism accuracy and also finding out because my background, I've done so many different stuff that kind of makes me in Final Fantasy, our Japanese role-playing game terms like a red mage of or jacks of all trades. Like I have all these different experiences. So, but I've love coffee shops and just attending movies. I enjoy classic movies. I've seen some of my favorite old movies include The Red Shoes. Also came over from the Europe side. Very fantastic movie. And then a lot of other old ones that happened one night. An awesome comedy fun that came over from the States and it features a Hop Gable from Gone with the Wind. Really good movie. I think it's free on YouTube, unless Australia is hard with YouTube in general. Hopefully not. It's a great movie. But I enjoy watching that, and if I can get that big screen perspective, it's awesome. And I
Mm.
love that they're doing more anime movies on the big screen because I watched like several series like Neon Genesis Evangelion, and the fact that they had the first movie of that series, the end of Evangelion, back before they do the rebuild stuff, that's
Mm.
something I never expected to see. Like, why did they bring back a 1998 movie in the big screens in the West for some reason?
Mm. Yeah.
And that movie hits much differently in movie theaters when watching it on Netflix. I can tell you that.
Mm.
So I just love to get that theater perspective because there's movies I missed out and not watching in a big screen, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, for example. I just love to have that perspective.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely a different experience.
Yeah, and then kind of like you connect the context of those who've seen it in the theaters for the first time.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I've seen stuff like Planet of the Apes, the original one, not the Tim Burton one. Oh God, not the Tim Burton one. I watched that kid and I hated that one when I was going through my Tim Burton phase. And I watched the original Planet of the Apes on the big screen. And I was like, why didn't I grow up with this? And I think I actually shouted in the theater, is like, how did they mess it up in the Tim Burton movie?
Mm.
Yeah, I probably should have shouted, but I was really into that movie.
Yeah.
But I like going out and do things, coffee shops and that. And I'm hoping to do more and hoping to get a PlayStation 5 at some point. It's a graduation gift for me. I'm going for my bachelor's in psychology.
Oh, yeah. You're doing quite a few different things. So how do you
Yep.
balance that? You're working in the schools, you're doing your study, and you've got a lot of interests outside work. How do you optimize your productivity while you're working and while you're studying?
Sometimes it's hard. Like I get so work oriented, I have to remind myself there. I do in the most universal thing, coffee.
Yep.
Yep, coffee. I do black coffee or kind of try to find reasonably good quality, cheap coffee because inflation in the States is still noticeable,
Hmm.
except for the free $73.79 big jar of coffee. Black coffee I can just drink. It's cold too, so it works pretty nice. Helps with my budgeting. So I always like that. And then for an actual answer, because there's probably not a lot of coffee drinkers, possibly
Oh,
not a
no,
lot of
we're
I leave
very
it up.
big coffee drinkers in Australia.
I leave it up to all of you because coffee is pretty universal, kind of tea, water, and all that. And
Hmm.
having that just sometimes walks there. I mentioned my puppy earlier.
Hmm.
When men said puppy's not driving me crazy because 9 months and is a German Shepherd. So yeah, if I've heard him earlier during the recording of this, so that good. And try to include some more Netflix. I grew up with something called That 70s Show, and they have this sequel series, That 90s Show. So I'm just kind of like, I wouldn't say forcing myself, like reminding myself to do it every now and then. And then work-wise, what I do is I have like a meditation app, and then I have the ability of like, if I need to take like a quick break, I can just request it.
Hmm.
I'm also willing to kind of, I don't want to say man it up, but just be patient with it because schools are busy. Even a small private school can be very busy.
Hmm.
So it may not happen entirely, but it's just kind of being open to that.
Hmm.
Yep. And then if I do need like an actual break, driving is always good for me.
Is there any advice that you've read about or heard about that doesn't work for you?
It's hard. It's kind of like autism therapies where something may not help everyone, but you have the select couple that does help out. So this one's kind of a tough one. I don't want
Hmm.
anyone to go around like angry moms taking it down.
Hmm.
And I guess I can mention the most obvious stuff. Don't do any substance use. I think that's pretty noted. I mean, and then again, coffee is technically part of that. I took an abnormal psych class, and coffee was one of those. Technically doesn't stop me, but I'm also responsible with caffeine indoors. Like the human body takes about 400 milligrams, apparently. So I always try to take the 2 cups at best, maybe a third, depending if I'm doing any public speaking or if I need to do something like dog training, for example.
Hmm.
This and the second one I mentioned already, I guess
Hmm.
policing people with strong opinions, because I'm sure you probably know different to anywhere else in the world that there are some very strong autism opinions, like
Hmm.
incredibly strong ones, like some very strong voices out there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The,
it's like you should do or you shouldn't do that. Every relax, like symbols, like I leave it up to people. I don't use any symbols for my thing. I just do my own brand, and that's about it.
hmm.
Like I'm neutral. I'm indifferent to a lot of them.
Hmm.
Like the diversity of people being able to choose, if that makes sense, without getting an angry mob to your podcast. I don't want that.
Yeah. I'd prefer not to have pitchforks coming at me as well.
No, no, like for real. I hopefully no one's mad in here. Don't after reading this, especially Jeremy, right? He's
Yeah.
cool, so don't go after him, please.
Please, please leave us alone.
I'm
It,
hoping that helps. It's a hard one because again, perspectives and just knowing that there's someone else could benefit from that. So it's a tricky question.
yeah. Is there anything, just thinking about maybe when you're studying, when you're doing your university study in psychology, is there anything that you do around helping you to stay focused that you found helpful?
I can say I do. It depends. And also, this is relevant because I'm not cheating, but getting ahead in one course. I have 2 classes left, and one of those is history of psychology. And I bought
Hmm.
the textbook from Amazon.
Hmm.
I'm just getting ahead so I don't have to do reading in all 8 weeks. It's an online 8 week course, so it's pretty demanding.
Hmm.
And the textbook is one of the driest things I've ever read. And
Oh,
I don't think it's like dry. It has like summaries, but it's going into like the Greek era, the really old history,
hmm.
which I get why. It's hard for me to relate to that side. It is important, don't get me wrong, but
Hmm.
it just like I can't relate too much here. If it was like the 20th century, I would relate more into that, or at least have like a pitch to have like a I don't know, like have be able to say anything about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, could
Did-
this could be how my mind is.
yeah.
And I don't want
Did-
to sound like I don't like materials that are nothing for me to do, but it's pretty dry. Like I'm just just have to soldier that one out, and at least I don't have to do a lot of reading when doing school assignments. I have to have a particular system.
hmm.
Nighttime do a lot of studying. If I need to go up and stay up a bit more, so be it.
Hmm.
Because we have 2 classes left, and nothing's stopping me from doing those classes.
Hmm.
Like weekends if I have to.
Hmm.
But for that, I also have music choices. I like to listen to music. One of those I really like, Studio Ghibli movies. Like those soundtracks are like, as one of my students say, are like peak, and not peak fire, but fire, or one of those terms. It's like one of those current terms. One of those. Studio Ghibli, the anime movies like Spirited Away, and they recently did like a movie called The Boy and the Heroine,
Ah,
or they call it in Japan How Do You Live, based off of a novel from that country.
ah,
I just love those movies. If you ever watch any of those, like the music, it feels like a journey aspect. You guys are going through a movie, and yeah, like it kind of just tags on your heart. That's the best way to describe it.
yeah.
There's times where I even meditate while I drive with that sort of music. I get
Hmm.
like several professional ideas fun listening to it. So
Hmm.
that could be helpful. And then the Near series soundtrack is also really good. Comes up with its own language based off 1,000 years of language. It's really cool.
Hmm.
So again, music helps. Coffee if I need to, if it's something that I really need to do.
Hmm. Yeah, nice.
And then if
That's
I need to
like
do
really
something
good.
else, let's say edit my website, there's also that I could just do. It's like a website builder. I just add new text or add like a new page or whatever.
Hmm.
Because I could do like a lot of side projects if I want to.
Hmm. Cool. Well, that sounds like a good
Depends
set
on
of.
the day, depends on what I'm doing.
Hmm. Yeah. And I like that you have been emphasizing breaks, that you take breaks with driving and with the meditation app. So we're going to take a quick break now, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Hi there, Focus and Chillers. Are you ready to supercharge your knowledge in the realms of creativity, tech, and psychology? Come check out my fortnightly newsletter. In each edition, you'll get quick wins and actionable takeaways that you can put into practice right away. If this sounds like you, I'd love to have you as a reader. Subscribe for your fortnightly dose of insights. The link is in the show notes. And now, let's get back to the show.
We're back from our break. We've had a drink of water and ready to now talk about morning routines. Andrew, can you tell us about your morning routine, what you do when you
I,
wake up, and has that changed over time?
it depends. Like I would say, the mornings can be more relaxed, but I have to kind of be mindful that I have a never a puppy. I have like a puppy for a while, so it's like I get up early, like 6. I'm
Mhm.
in a summer schedule, so it's a little different. But I get up early to make sure my dog Sky, and he's in my social media pages, so definitely look at some pictures afterwards. Make sure he does his bathroom stuff. I usually have like a bagel, like something there. I wait until coffee until when I'm at my workplace.
Hmm.
So if it's on the weekend, I'll just have it there. Sometimes he wakes me up a little early.
Hmm. Yeah, nice.
Yep, and
And
then if I need to do anything public speaking or going to resource fairs for anything autism wise, I might get up a bit early to kind of go to that because I do some 2 hour trips to those, going
hmm.
into Massachusetts or something like that. That depends on what I'm doing.
Okay. And between eating your bagel and getting to work, do you do anything else, or do you basically eat the bagel and get in the car or head to where you're going to be working for that day?
If I'm able to let my dog out for like another time after like shower and all that, I also do that. And then if I need to look up any emails, I do that or kind of or watch like a few videos to help with being awake and all that.
Hmm. Do you have a certain type of video that you like to watch to wake you up?
Anything that pops up on YouTube. Also depends on my vehicle also has a lot of the gaming and the anime music that I can have access to that. I can play whenever I want. Also really good for hyper focusing.
Yeah, nice. And then how about when you're going to sleep in the evening? Do you have a set routine that you do to help you to wind down?
In the past, I usually like video games. Technically not the best. Not like into midnight, mind you. Past I probably go like 12-ish. But because I have a German Shepherd who could wake me up anytime he wants. He doesn't do it all the time, but I have to be mindful of sleeping.
Hmm.
Mindful of sleeping a lot of time. Not like I say a poor sleep. I get like 6, 7 hours at best, mostly 6 nowadays.
Hmm.
And most of the time, either my alarm clock would wake me up or my dog would wake me up. Or I
Yeah.
wake myself up, depending. And then with the dog, I sometimes kind of read a book. Like I've been reading that playbook by Stuart Brown. And I'm actually working the book. I've also got a book adaptation of The Wet Shoes I'm kind of looking
Hmm.
into kind of reading, but I'm not doing any schoolwork or reading any autism books.
Yeah. So you would do your study before you start to wind down with the video games and reading?
And it depends. I would like to go back to it. I just kind of been just adulting. Like adulting's been pretty big right now. Now I'm hoping after I get through school, I wouldn't mind going back to Pacific video games.
Hmm.
Hope I could play in the Final Fantasy Remake Part 2. I would like to play that.
Hmm.
I would like to play that. As I just have to wait until I get a PlayStation 5. Technically I could, but it's more satisfying once I get close to my graduation. That or Black Friday sales.
Yeah.
If they're good deals, however, if they're good deals. If not, I just paid the stupid $500 just to get the disc drive for PlayStation 5. I like physical media.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't really do digital unless it's something really good or DLC or the downloadable content and all that.
Hmm. All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and you've mentioned your website a few times, so I've included that in the notes. You also said, did you say LinkedIn and Instagram would be the best places for people to connect with you?
Yes, I'm on my website too. You can find me Andrew Arboe. And then I could also say my website here for those who are more that kind of to get a lot more from the audio side. You can search me up. Andrew Arboe and then dot I'm just gonna spell it out. Hopefully that's fine with everyone.
Mhm.
Webry, weebly.com.
Great.
And then you can also Google, and there's a Microsoft search thing. You can find me there. And the best way you know is that you see me in a car, and it also has this logo, Andrew Arboe, autistic self-advocate and speaker. And that's when you're at the right place on my website. And then LinkedIn, you just search up my name, and the Facebook page has the logo, just has its own page. And then the name is kind of smaller in Instagram, but it just says Andrew Arboe, then some speaker 5 because I have to come up with something original for that so it doesn't complain on me. But I recommend my website and my LinkedIn especially. LinkedIn, I'm very into the community, like to share the way stuff whenever I can. Like
Great.
next like the upcoming Monday, or let's see what's coming up in case of the recording and all that, whenever this episode comes up. Over on August 5th, I'm going to be reviewing 2 new speaking topics for my page. So I'd like to share updates like that. And anything else that I do over time, I like to share resources there. Unfortunately, more US based, United States based. My audience is more on that side. Don't get too much UK. It'd be interesting if I did, but I'll leave it up to them on that and just see how these sort of things go.
Wonderful. All right. And do you have any final words or asks for the audience?
Like do good. Like not policing people. I guess it was that, and to be not unintentionally aggressive at that. I guess kind of again just do good, and problems seem to be really big, but there's usually a way to start building your way into solving them. Like even small steps. Like a lot of stuff I was doing just started from small steps and me working on stuff I could do. Either that, and if you want to make it more fun, just think of it as a training arc in a Dragon Ball anime. Like kind of doing the next thing with Goku doing the training. I grew up with the original one, and Super was pretty nice too. So, yep, I'd usually joke with students like, "This guy go approach it like Goku, just kind of go for that next training phase."
Yeah,
But it's a fun way to look at it. Minus the awkward socialness on Goku's end. I wouldn't go into that, especially when you was a kid. Oh, God forbid. The ones who grew up with the original Dragon Ball will know about that. But yeah, just go out, do stuff. Don't give up. I'm trying not to be like hyper proactiveness, but it's been a strong part of how I do things, at least on my end. People have a lot of different ways, but kind of like not giving in to any of the politics. Oh God, I forbid the politics in my country. Not looking forward for the election, but I'll find my way. Either that or vote my dog in. Kidding aside, I believe problems can be solved and problems can get there, and it's just a journey. Just enjoying things for the journey. And I kind of want to let people know I'm just enjoying life. Like I like to have that message. Doing like my autism accuracy and public speaking, especially, and just kind of embrace life every step of the way. Hopefully that isn't too pretentious sounding, but
no, it's an important message. Thanks so much, Andrew. It's been really good.
Thank you for having me on here. I'm sorry, interrupting again. Go on.
No, it's been great having you on. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.